Assalamu alaikum everyone, this is your host Stani here with the Paxican and Hamza here to review the New Zealand versus Pakistan 2020 series that concluded today. We have three matches. Go to you first, Paxican. How do you feel about everything today?
Well, I'm glad we got a win. That's the main. I'm actually glad we finally got a win. Again, it had to be a feast to show the youngsters, but there's a lot of transformation that needs to be done, in my eyes, anyway.
Yeah.
I know everyone's got
What
their
about
own opinions on the team.
we'll come back. We'll come back to that when we look at the teams. What about yourself, Hamza? How do you feel after all today? Just to sum it up.
Yeah, I mean, New Zealand's a tough place to go, especially for their seas right now. People forget this is probably the best New Zealand team they've ever had in their history. So, the first match we were competitive, almost took it to the last over. The second one got blown away in the chase, and the third one we won. So, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I'm satisfied enough.
Okay. So if you go back to the start then, so the mark-on news that we had about a week or two ago was that Barber was going to be out. The
Yeah.
mainstay for the 2020 team, the captain, just our rock basically, that he was going to be out. How do you think that affected the team? I'm going to go to you first on this, Hamza. How do you think that affected the team?
Oh, it was very Pakistani, wasn't it? Just it's so irritating. I've never heard of like Joe Root or Steve Smith or Sachin or Dravid 2 weeks before a series getting their thumb busted. This dumb stuff only seems to happen to us. I don't know what it is. There's something to do with the way they train, or I don't know. So yeah, it was very disappointing. I'm sure he was really looking forward to it as a pretty high-profile series as a captain, and of course building a team around himself with sort of relatively newish coach. Waka and Eunice have only been in the job for about less than a year, I think. So without him, they actually managed okay, I think.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to, I think that Barber he fractured his thumb. They said that he actually fractured it doing someone was doing throwdowns to him. Now, I've never heard of anyone when you're doing throwdowns. No one's going to be throwing at like 100 miles an hour for him to fracture his thumb. So I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but there was an article where Ramiz Raja actually said that the condition of the facilities that they were training on it wasn't international standard. So I wonder how much of a part that actually played on him, really. What about you, Patrick? And how much of a blow do you think that was to the team, losing
Massive,
Barber straight
massive.
before the series?
It's a massive blow because we do rely on him, and he's one of the best bats. He's the best batsman out there at the moment, and especially in T20s. And being the opener, it changed our whole batting lineup. We just basically just pick people like, okay, you go and open, and do this, but we had no structure. So without Barber, he was a big strike to Pakistan. We struggled big time without him.
Yeah, I think going into the first match as well, New Zealand didn't have some of their big guns either,
Exactly.
such as Williams, Moussaoui, etc. So what we wanted to do was that first match, we just wanted to get flying, go in with get a win basically, get that one against our name, and we go in, we win the toss and we bat. Now, when I was listening to the commentary, it was a full New Zealand commentary team as well, which I would have liked to see a Pakistani in there as well, or just someone to kind of balance it out. But the commentators were saying that they were a bit surprised that we'd actually chosen to bat. Really, what did you make of that? I'm gonna go to you, Paxican.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I was expecting at least Ramiz Raja because he's always with the team. He's always commentating to nearly every single game. But yeah, the way again, our team just didn't perform, did they? They just, I don't think because obviously again Shadab is still new as a captain as well, so I guess there was a bit more pressure. Coaches wise, maybe they didn't give him I think they were all just nervous and just made the wrong decisions. I think they were just making silly decisions. But yeah, I think because we got so used to playing on flat pitches in Dubai and stuff, we just thought, yeah, 150 is going to be fine. Even though, to be fair, we did recover to get to that score from being 4 down, was it?
Yeah, we were actually 20 for 4 at one point.
Yeah, exactly.
I
So I
just
think
finished with 4 overs.
fair play to Shadab there, and I think it was Fahim with him and Imad. So fair play to them, like, but it just shows again, top order, we keep slacking. It's been years. The top order, we've just not been able to get a perfect top order since the days of like Yusuf and Seydan and those days, really. Since then, we've not really had the best top order.
Yeah, I mean, just talking about that 20 for 4, it was like catching practice, really, the way that some of the players actually got out. They just lofted shots. Now, the commentator said that there was a little bit of extra bounce, but yes, there was, but you'd expect at this level the players to be able to handle that. So I was a bit disappointed in that, really, because once you get down to 20 for 4 in the power play, you're just playing catch up for the rest of the innings. Then one of the interesting things that what is it with Pakistan and opposition newbies? Anytime we face someone like that, yeah, we just seem to give them, we give them a massive hype, really. So in this one, it was Duffy who came out with a massive 4 wickets. Now we've seen it in the past, like with Grandom, and even when Dhoni came onto the scene. I think he was playing in his second or third game against us, and I'm sure he got a century in an ODI. But Hamza, what is it with us and newbies against us? Why do they make such an impact?
Yeah, I don't know. And a lot of these newbies, they sort of disappear after about a year or two. They're not particularly good. It's not like they're not like Shoaib Akhtar or Dale Steyn or something. So yeah, I don't know who's that Aussie batsman who had a really weird back foot technique. He sort of made a debut a few years ago, and he sort of piled on runs against us. And I was like, this guy's rubbish. We should be getting him out. I can't remember.
Oh,
Anyway, he had like a real bottom hand technique. He's constantly on the back foot.
Yeah.
And he sort of in his debut series made runs against us, and I was like, oh, this guy's rubbish. Yeah, it's one of those mysteries, brothers. It's like the broken finger thing. It's a mystery.
Yeah, because I think that because he obviously did brilliantly in the first T20, but we never saw him again in the second or third one. I don't know where obviously Saudi ball, the big guns came back, but for someone to get 4 wickets on debut and then they just didn't pick him again. But anyway, so we recovered to just 153 for 9. In typical Pakistan fashion, we were expecting our bowling to pull us out of it, weren't we? So going into the bowling, how confident were you that we were going to be able to get a result on this, Hamza?
Anytime we get over, if defending over 140, we will win more matches than we lose. That's the thing people always need to remember. So yeah, I mean, even in that match, we took him almost to the last over. So yeah, good stuff from the bowlers. Wahab did what Wahab does best. If he doesn't get hit for a 4 or a 6, he's very angry. So I think I think he went for 12, and he bowled his full 4 overs and went for 12 and over. That's where we pretty much lost it. Because at one stage, I think when we got them about 4 down, I can't remember what the score was. 4 down, the momentum was kind of with us, and we sort of lost it. Afridi bowled really well. Harris and Fahim bowled very well. The rest of them didn't have a great day, especially Wahab.
Yeah, I think in the second half of New Zealand's innings, there were a couple of overs where it was a little bit in the balance, but then New Zealand just were able to pile on the runs, and it just the run rate was never in our favour, really.
You can't defend 150 if you got one guy bowling 4 overs, going for 12 and over, and taking no wickets. He didn't even take any wickets.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of our innings, we knew that we were about 20, 30 runs short anyway, so it was always going to be a bit of an uphill battle. But I think at the end of that game, as we mentioned, New Zealand did not have some of their big guns, and we'd lost that game. Paxican, how did you feel about that? That we were going to go into the second game now, and all the New Zealand big guys were going to come back, and we were going to be up against it.
Very nervous. Honestly, it was scary because come on, those nasty because the Saudis come back. I mean, but I mean, even with our bowlers, he still gets knocked about, but he does always. And he's.
Are you in Rawalpindi, Patrick? Your internet's all over the place. What have you got? PTCL as your Wi-Fi provider? Is it Zong?
It's buffering quite a bit, bro.
I think he's actually
He's
in
been playing
Mexico.
up in this area for the past few. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I can hear you. Yeah,
yeah, but
there you are.
Playing up in the area recently. That's why he's where was that now? Yeah, in the BBL. So I think he's been. I'm glad he's. I know there's a lot of stick about him.
Yeah, I think Paxican, if we just go to Hamza for a couple of minutes, and then we'll come back to you just for your internet to sort itself out a bit.
Sorry.
So going into that second 2020, New Zealand obviously won by 9 wickets, a massive 9 wickets. So the game actually went down to the last over somehow. I was really surprised that actually happened. But if you talk about Hafiz, now when we did some of these Stani shows, Stani verdict shows during the England series a few months ago, I was saying that what are Hafiz and Malik doing in the squad? We need to get rid of them. We need to. They're basically hanging on. But Hafiz has completely transformed himself. He's changed himself, and he alluded to it that one of the things he's done differently is he's playing golf. He started playing golf in the past 12 to 18 months. So the effect that that's on, I think we should enroll all of our batsmen into golf. Basically, we've spoken about this many times, Hamza, about Hafiz and what kind of an impact he has on the team. What do you make of the change that he's had over the past 12 months?
the thing is, he's always had the capacity to hit sixes and fours. So if you think back to the Champions Trophy 2017, he came in with about 6 overs to go and he just bashed it around. Got 50 in like 30 balls. So even when he wasn't, after 2017, when he got the bowling ban and he wasn't able to bowl anymore, the thing that frustrated me about him is he wouldn't accept that he's not a long-term batsman in the sense that he can't bat in tests. He's not good enough for tests. Probably not ODIs, but in 2020s, where a quick 40 or 50 can be absolutely critical, he could do that. And he's also shown, obviously, because he actually has a reasonably good batting technique, so he can bat a little bit longer, so get into the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So yeah, I'm happy for him. Everyone knows I'm not his biggest fan, because once he lost his bowling action, I was like, why are you still in the team? So he's proven his worth, and like I always say, your opinions should be influenced by facts on the ground. The guy's making runs, so right at this moment, him and Barber are the 2 first names on the 2020 score sheet for me, team sheet for me. And so yeah, I'm really really happy for him. We needed support for Barber as well, like an experienced batsman, someone actually making runs and not just being there for experience. So actually making some runs and actually doing something. So that's really good. I'm happy for him.
Yeah. I mean, going into that second game, he'd obviously had I think he got a golden duck in the first game, but then to bounce back on that and to get 99. I mean, I think he was 93, and then we had 1 ball left, and he just smacked it straight down the ground over the bowler's head for 6 to end on 99. He basically carried the whole innings really, and everyone else played around him, but he wasn't just like plodding. Pushing the ball around for 1s and 2s. He was getting full on boundaries, being aggressive, showing the way, dealing with the extra bounce. So, that must have had an impact on the players that are around him. We joke about this all, as you mentioned yourself, Hamza, about the experience side of it, but you should, we always judge them on how are they playing today? What is their form like? We're not looking at what they were like 3, 4, 5 years ago. So I'm just hoping that some of the intent and the passion and the aggression that Hafiz has rubs off on quite a few of the new players. But when you look at, say, someone like Heather Ali, for example, what did you make of him in the second game?
Well, I think he pretty much got out the same way in all 3 matches. It was the bounce of the ball caused him to edge it or play a miss hit. It's not a surprise. I don't think people should be concerned. Like I always say to people, when it comes to some of these really talented youngsters, Haider is better right now than Yunus Khan was at 20. he's better right now than Mohamed Yusuf was at 20. So if you think about it in that perspective, and I think he could be okay. We should stick with him. We shouldn't be too harsh with him. I don't think people need to, sort of tend to totally adjust his technique or something like that. This technique's got him this far. But, very small little adjustments. Maybe it's to do with shot selections. I think that the third one. I'm thinking ahead, but in today's T20, the third T20, he sort of like tried to play it across the line, and he got a leaning edge, right? Maybe in Asia you can do that. Yeah, a straight ball, flick it. Like Kevin Peterson used to sort of flick it to the leg side. He tried to play a shot like that. You can. I think that's not technique. That's shot selection. You need to figure out that you can't play shots like that in New Zealand. You got to play it in the V or just bat it straight back down. So that comes with experience, not to play certain shots in New Zealand. So I'm not particularly concerned. Obviously, it's disappointing. He hasn't made any runs. He didn't get out of single figures, I don't think.
Yeah, I think he made about 8 in the second one. And that brings us on to the second newbie that we were trying, Abdullah. What do you? So obviously he got dropped for the final game, but he played in the second game. What did you make of him over the first 2 games?
Yeah, we didn't really see much of him, did we?
Yeah.
But I saw enough of him in the national T20 to understand why he got picked. He got a nice solid technique, sort of plays in the V. We're always looking for new top order batsmen, so I understand why he got selected. I think sometimes you pick guys just because you want them in and around an experienced group of players and managers. So he hopefully would have learned a lot over this time with Yunus and Misbah. So we've said before, I don't mind us losing the odd match. Obviously, I mind us losing, but I don't mind us losing trying guys like Abdullah Shafiq because he deserves to be selected. He had a good national T20, so you picked him in the next T20 squad. It absolutely makes sense. So I'm not particularly concerned about Haider and Shafiq. We need to give these sort of guys time. On Twitter, I know Twitter is a bit of a cesspit at times, but some of the nonsense people come out with, like, the little lobbies for Shoaib Malik and Cameron Akmal and people like that coming out talking about Sharjeel and all that. It's like, you think Sharjeel would have done any different here? I mean, I'm not that against Sharjeel, by the way. People know this from previous videos. I don't mind him being in around a T20 squad, but all the troubles that Haider had, Sharjeel would have had it as well. He's got a very bottom hand. He basically likes to cut and pull. He would have had the same problems as well. So yeah, people just need a bit of perspective. These are new guys. They're going to struggle a little bit.
Yeah, I think that one of the really good things is that we've obviously got 5 T20s that the Shane squad are playing, and I'm pretty sure that Abdullah and Haider are in those squads as well. So hopefully that's going to be giving them more experience, more time out in the middle as well. And just going back on the Sharjeel thing, in my mind, Sharjeel played in the PSL, and obviously came back from his ban, and he had some okay innings in the PSL, but nothing to say that he was banging the door down into the national squad. So I can't understand why people are saying let's get him back into the team now, because he was in the PSL. He didn't have the big performances. I think we've got the PSL tournament again in a couple of months. I think 2 or 3 months. So again, that's another
February, March, yeah.
February, March, yeah. So he's got another chance there. So I don't think that there's any rush for him, because obviously we know that as soon as Barber comes back, he's going back straight up to the at the top of the batting order anyway. So we'll see how Sharjeel does in the T20 squad. So the surprising thing for me though was in that second one was that obviously Seifert and Williamson just ran away with the game, and we only managed to get 1 wicket in the 2020 game. I know that we took it to the last over, but why do you think that was, that we were only able to get 1 wicket? We still had the likes of Shane bowling. Do you think that we were it was just psychological, or?
Seifert batted really well. I've only seen highlights. I didn't watch the second match live, but the bowling didn't look particularly bad. Wahab was awful again. 1 over for 19. That's just unforgivable. Fahim had a good day. A good bowling performance. Other than that, the rest of them were expensive and didn't take wickets. But yeah, to be fair, you have the odd match like that in 2020s where the home team kind of dominates you. Maybe they got the better of the conditions. Maybe the batting was a bit easier later on. Having Williamson back helped. But I think Seifert just sometimes someone just plays a magnificent innings, and you just got to put your hands up and say, all right, fine. So I think Seifert just had a really good second match. And I don't think we bowled particularly badly, other than I know I'm picking on him, but he's frustrated me so much over the last couple of years. I don't think we bowled badly.
Yeah. So we lost that game. Then obviously we lost the series with that 2-0, and then going into the last one, we made some changes with this. So we got rid of Imad, Wahab, and Abdullah, and we brought in Hasnain, Talat, and Iftikhar. Agree or not agree, Hamza?
Oh yeah, totally agreed. We should have made that change after the first match. Maybe not dropping Abdullah, but definitely I'm not Iftikhar's biggest fan.
Really?
But yeah, yeah, I think there's better options than him. But yeah, I think that made sense. Wahab needed to go. His name's been carrying drinks for way too long. He's deserving. He got a 5-4 in his last match. I know it's Zimbabwe, but getting a 5-4 in international matches when you're 19, that's rated, man. So he should have been in there earlier. And Talat, it really frustrates me how, sometimes you think, am I watching something that other people can't see, or am I just smarter than everyone else or something? For saying Talat, the guy just made 250 in a first class match. No one's made a double hundred, let alone a 250, for God knows how many seasons in Pakistani cricket. He's piling on the runs in first class cricket. He's piling on the runs in 2020s. So he's basically dominating both ends of the game. The long
How did you do? So how did you do in the PSL?
The PSL, he had a mixed PSL. It was okay, but in the National T20 Cup, which is the domestic one where there's no foreigners, he piled on the runs. He was batting for fun. It was like every match he was getting a 50, 60, 70. And I think he finished like in the top 3 run scorers or something like that. So he should have been playing all of these matches. So I don't know what took so long to get him in. He should have been in the test squad. I totally forgot that he's not in the test squad, which totally does my head in, because Imam, and I'm thinking ahead, Imam's cracked his fingers, or Barber's not for the first test. So that batting lineup looks very weak in the tests. But anyway, so yeah, pity for Talat. He didn't get to play any matches. Well, he played in the last one, didn't bat. But yeah, Ifti, that makes sense. And his name, finally, he got to have a little bowl, and he did quite well.
Yeah, I'm glad that Hasnain was actually able to come in, because he's been kind of on the fringes of the 11 for quite a while now. He's had a chance in some games, but I'd just like us to give him more time. I've seen on social media that people are saying, we need to have Wahab in the squad for his pace and his experience. And
he's not even that quick anymore. He's not even that quick. He hardly hits 90 miles an hour now. And so what if you're quick? Sammy was quick.
I think the thing about Wahab for me, is that the no balls. I just can't I just can't understand why we can't get past that problem. He's been playing for God knows how many years, and he's had some great bowling coaches in the likes of Azhar Mahmood, Waqar Yunus, but Mohammad Akram. Yeah, we just can't get past the no ball issue. So, and then I think because he might not be mid 90s anymore, or 92, 93 miles an hour, but he still gets high 80s. He's touching 90s sometimes, and especially those short boundaries in New Zealand, batsman just gets a touch on it, the ball's going to go flying to the boundary. So
I think it's just about time to move on from him. There's too much nostalgia with him. People he's becoming like a comfort blanket for some people. They just pick him without, and you got to have performance. And if he was 10 years younger and doing this, I'd be like, okay, persist with him. He can maybe get better or more accurate. He's like 36 years old now, man. Just let it go.
Yeah, Hasnain is the one for me. I think bring him into the squad, and it is all that experience he's going to be getting. Right, I'm going to go to the hot topic of the day. Mohammad Rizwan. So over the past week or two, and even before that, there's been talk about, is Rizwan the right man to have the gloves on? having behind the stumps? Is he like a Sangakkara, a Gilchrist? Is he going to have the skill to have a strike rate of 140, 150, get us off to that big push? Is he worthwhile having him at the top of the order? And it's been going back and forth. And I said in the preview show that we did about a week ago now that for me, I'd always want to have a keeper behind the stumps first. I don't really care if he gets out for 0. That's just a personal opinion. Obviously, I'm right. So for anyone that's listening, but what's your opinion on that? On Rizwan. So even if you put Rizwan to the side, then I would still say whoever you choose has to be 100% keeper first. And then his batting skill that he has on there, that's a bonus for me. But there are some people out there that say, even if he's like a half and half keeper, that's good enough. But what are your views on that?
I definitely agree with what you said earlier, and that you've got to be a keeper first. And I mean, the thing is, people say stuff like, "Oh yeah, he can keep," and then talk about his batting. His batting is excellent. He's a proper orthodox batsman. His first class average is like 46 or something. He's made back-to-back hundreds in ODIs against Australia. He's made runs in Test cricket in Australia and in England now. And in 2020s, he's shown he's got some versatility there. He can bat up the order if we need it, and obviously he can bat down the order because he almost finished it today. He's hitting 6s in the last 5 overs, so he can hit the older ball as well. And this ain't some Mickey Mouse bowling attack. Someone was showing a stat: highest scores by Pakistani wicketkeepers in 2020s.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Sarfaraz done it against like Bangladesh or something.
Bangladesh, yeah.
And Cameron did it against like the Netherlands. So joke bowling attacks. No disrespect to my Bengali brothers, but weaker bowling attacks. Yeah. So he's done it against like Australia and England and New Zealand. In Australia, England, and New Zealand. It's like, how many times do you have to put a barrier in front of this guy and he's knocking it down? He can't bat. Then he shows in tests he can bat. He can't bat. Then he does it in ODIs. Oh, he can't hit 6s. He can't. Then he gets almost 100 at 150 strike rate. It's just a joke. The guy's, it's a definition of why are you looking a gift horse in the mouth. This guy he's easily the best wicketkeeper in the world, easily. Yeah. Tabrez Sarfaraz did it against Scotland. Yeah, there you go. Minnows. Sarfaraz got his 89 against Scotland. A joke team, basically. No disrespect to my Scottish brothers up north. Yeah, so you've got the best keeper in the world, and he can bat. This isn't, he's the best keeper in the world, but this guy, like if you look back here in the 80s, we had Wasim Bari. That guy was a proper keeper, but he was a crap batsman. He used to bat at 9 and 10. That's how rubbish he was. But in those days, you could get away with that. Now you have to be able to bat. So I agree to an extent. If Wasim Bari was around today, I wouldn't pick him for anything because he can't bat. But Rizwan's a world-class keeper and he can bat. So what are people complaining about? Why are you talking about him when we've got problems like who's going to be our first change bowler? Should we be opening with Haris Rauf? Can we play Imad and Shadab together? Or is Imad kind of losing it a bit? I don't know. Who should open with Babar? Who should be a number 4 and 3? We've got all these issues to discuss where you can have a legitimate point. But not with the keeper. The keeper debate is done. Jesus, man, move on. It's like the guy who's got like some cancer and you're moaning about like an ingrown toenail.
I'm gonna have to call a timeout there on that one, Hamza. Breathe, bro.
Thank you.
I think just picking up on one of the points you said there about Rizwan is that people have said that his strike rate isn't good no matter where he comes in the squad. Number 1, number 6, 7, wherever. And it just reminds me of Babar when he opens the innings, and I've seen people complain about his strike rate, and they've even to the point where they said that we lost the game because of Babar. He doesn't deserve his place in the team. And I just sit there scratching my head thinking he's the best player in the team. Every other country around the world would love to have him in their team, but we have our own fans saying that Babar doesn't deserve a place in the team, and we're losing games because of him. Now Babar doesn't start off hitting 6 6s and over, getting 36. He builds up his strike rate. Then obviously when he gets to 40, 50, 60, he'll crack on that way. And if you look at Rizwan today, I think he was about what he hit a few boundaries in the power play, but then he was like 30 off 20, 40 off 29, and then he slowly built it. And as he said, towards the latter stages of his innings in the last 5 overs, he kind of cut loose. Now we all know Babar's not going to be doing that. Rizwan's not going to be doing that every single game. Full stop. Okay. But like you said, he's a world-class keeper. When he was here against England, Michael Atherton, Nasser Hussain, they couldn't shut up about him. They were just amazed by him throughout every single game that he was in. So I just find it completely shocking that we've been crying out for world-class batsmen. We've been crying out for a world-class keeper for God knows how many years. And now we have them here and people want them out of the team. It's like, what do people want? If you can find a Gilchrist for me, yeah, then fine, we'll look at that. We'll look at him or a Sangakkara. But we have someone here, yeah, who's an absolutely brilliant keeper. Why, like I said, why are we looking a gift horse in the mouth? So we've got Tabrezi says that how often do batsmen in 2020 score above 40, 150 strike rate? Not many and not very often, but apparently Rizwan has to do it every game. And that's the point.
Yeah.
He gets picked on every single game when there's so many other things that we need to pick on. We lose the game, the first 2 games, or how many runs did Rizwan get? What was his strike rate? What position?
Other guys were getting ducks.
Yeah.
I said to this. I was having a debate with this guy on Twitter, and I know again it's randoms.
You need to get off Twitter, bro. It's not good for your health.
Oh no, it's not good for your health, man. But the guy was saying, what did he do in the first 2 matches? And I was like, well, he made starts. Other guys were getting ducks. So why are you picking on Riz for? I just don't understand it.
And at the end of the day, yeah, in the power play, we were 20 for 4 in the first one. I think we were 30 odd for 3 in the second one. And in the third one today, he wasn't after like a massive fly hitting 6 sixes from the word go, but at the end of those 6 overs, we had a good score. I can't remember, we were like 40, 50 after the 6 overs in the power play. Just think how much of a base that gives you. You don't need to hit 4s and 6s every single ball in the power play. You need to learn how to rotate the strike. Fitness needs to be a top priority for everyone in the team, whatever the fitness level standard is. If you don't meet that standard, I don't care who you are, Babar Azam, Hafiz, whoever, you're not allowed in the squad. There has to be that fitness standard. Amy mentioned it on the show that we did about a week and a half ago, that it's those milliseconds make a difference. And when you're running for singles and doubles. So again, it just reminds me of the many conversations we've had about Misbah when Misbah was playing. How many times did Misbah come in when he was like 30 for 3 or something like that, and then we lose the game, and who gets the blame?
People talk about his strike rate. It's like you got to analyze. It's 30 for 3.
Yeah, what do people expect? Why do all the blame get lumped on one person? We should look at.
He's a top 7.
We've been banging on for God knows how many years about getting newbies in. We get the newbies in, okay, they're not firing all the time. So maybe we need to look at that. Maybe there is something that we need to do there, why they're not firing. But rather than just going, the keeper. If the keeper got 100 of 20 balls every game, we'd be winning. And yeah, we would. If you can find someone like that, fine. But until then, it's just weird. So just going back into the actual game then, yeah. So yeah, Rizwan basically played brilliantly today in both batting and bowling. It was the first time that we actually chose to we won the toss again for the 3rd time running, but we actually chose to
field.
Fields. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we actually chose to field first. Why do you think that was a psychological decision or something? Because the commentators were actually happy with this for once.
Yeah, I think maybe it was just about sort of trying to get a chase going this time round. I don't think in 2020s it's a make or break. I think that sometimes in ODIs dues a factor. The lights are factored. Do you like batting under lights or not? In 2020s, you're generally batting all during the day, or batting and bowling. The matches all during the day or all during the night. So I don't think it matters quite so much. But yeah, it went well in the end. But yeah, I don't think the toss matters that much.
No, I mean, even at the when we were chasing 174, based on the past 2 games where we'd been bowled up 150 odd and then just then low 160s. How confident were you that we'd basically win it? I mean, for me, it was all about the power play. As long as we didn't lose the 3 or 4 wickets in that power play in those first 6 overs, that would then give us a boost. Every time you lose those 3, 4 wickets in that power play, you're always playing catch up, and that run rate just keeps mounting and mounting and mounting. So I was really happy, obviously, like everyone else, well, most people, when Riz made that start. But how confident were you that we were actually going to be able to make a chase of this?
Yeah, we actually bat relatively deep with some of these players, because if we play Shadab and Imad, obviously Imad not in the third, but Shadab, Imad, Fahim, generally means even at 9 we've got a guy that can bat. So I missed the first few overs of the chase, and I sort of logged back on, and I think it was like 70 for 1, something like that, after like 8, 9 overs. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, we're doing well here. Keep wickets in hand, and you can keep bashing towards the last 5, 6 overs. So yeah, I was pretty confident. I think it was good to have Riz and Hafiz batting together. I think when you look at that top 6, I'm a huge fan of Talat. Without Talat, without Barbara in there, I think actually our best batsmen technically are probably Hafiz and Riz. I think it's not going to be Haider or Ifti. So you'd rather have them batting nice and early, setting it up for people like Khushdil and Fahim or Iftikhar. You don't want Iftikhar coming in with 13, 14 overs still to go. He's not going to do anything. He's not good enough. So yeah, the right guys were batting, but a slight odd choice when they brought Fahim in. They almost lost the match there. It's really odd. I mean, I get it because he made a few runs in the first couple of matches, and I thought, he'll come out and hit a couple of chalk air. But when you've got Talat waiting, the guy hasn't had a match yet. You might as well give him a bat. What is that? What are you doing? So that was an odd decision. Almost lost it. But yeah, we had our two best batsmen setting it up.
Yeah. What did you make of Shadab's captaincy throughout these 3 games? There were a few moments when I think he got a little bit animated, which is fine. It's always good to see a bit of passion in your captain. But overall, what did you make from from his strategy, his tactics, his management from the bits of the games that you saw, Hamza?
I think he did quite well. Still not enough to judge, but he generally made the right bowling changes. I mean, it's an easy one to take Wahab off after 1 over that went for 19, but I think another captain might have been tempted to bring him back for 1 more over, and I know we lost that match anyway. But being an experienced guy, there might have been a bit of pressure to bowl Wahab for 1 more. So I'm glad he said, you've been tonked for 1 over, you're not bowling again, sorry. So that showed a few balls. His field placings were generally positive. He sort of didn't just go negative straight away. Had a man up when he was bowling, spin quite often, in the ring. And I like his. I mean, it's a very subjective thing to say about someone, but that attitude. I mean, it doesn't always matter. If you look at people like Misbah and Inzi, these guys look like they were just totally chilling, but they were great sort of man managers and sort of strategists in their own regard as well. So I'm not too fussed about the whole he looks energetic and blah blah blah, because our best recent captain didn't look energetic. He was very, very chilled. So yeah, I like Shadab. He's doing well in PSL. I like that coming sort of slightly tangent. I like in domestic cricket that we're giving the captaincy to a lot of younger guys as well. So that's helping. Gives you more options when you get to the national team as well. So overall, I think Shadab's done a good job.
Okay. And then one of the players I was really looking forward to seeing was Haris Rauf. So we've had a question from one of our members over in Germany, who's actually said, "What about Haris Rauf? Good enough to stay, or should only play leagues first?" Now, I'll be honest. Before I first heard of him when he burst on the scene in the Australian Big Bash League in the BBL, where he was just doing amazing things. I think it was about a year and a half ago. I think. And then obviously he was kind of drafted into the team, and I don't think for me he's been able to replicate the form that he had in the BBL. But he's put a stake in the ground. He's claiming his place. He's putting performances in, and I think again, just over time, he will and should get better. And I think the important thing for me is that he has the experience of playing in Australia, which is been notoriously difficult for us. So I would definitely persist with him. I think that, with regards to playing in leagues around the world, yeah, if time allows for him in the calendar, and of course for his fitness, then yeah, let him go play in these leagues around the world, in the West Indies, and anywhere else. But I would definitely still have him in the team. What about you?
So in the first match, he was one of the best bowlers. In the second one, not so good, and in the third one, he was decent. So he basically, if you play him, you can't play Wahab because he might go for a few himself. So that's, if you're going to stick with Harris, you got to get rid of Wahab. So retirement imminent for Wahab, hopefully, because I think he's done with international cricket. So Harris, I think he's got enough potential. A few people have compared him to Sammy. I don't think that's really fair because he actually shows a lot of variety. If you look at him carefully, he's bowling slow balls, bouncers, yorkers. One of the problems with Sammy was he'd bowl 88 miles an hour half volleys constantly. Constant half volleys at 88 miles an hour. A little bit wide, a little bit straight. People are flicking him. People are driving him, smacking him out of the park. Harris actually changes it up constantly. So I'm a bigger fan of his, and I think he's much better than someone like Sammy, because I've heard some people comparing him to Sammy, that he's like bowls at 90 miles an hour but gets hit around. He does get hit around, but not as much as people make out, and he does have the capacity to take wickets. So I'm happy to have him in the team. But you'd need sort of a Freedy around him. You'd need like a Hasnain having a good day around him, or Naseem having a good day around him, because he does have the capacity to go for a few. But overall, I like Harris.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. So it's 2-1. We lost the series 2-1. Now, I actually predicted that we would win 2-1 at the start of the series, and I think that, had a couple of things gone in our favor, we would have actually done that. We would have been able to win 2-1. So it's unfortunate, but I think that, as you mentioned, that this is one of the best New Zealand sides that we've ever faced. So I think that, and obviously playing away from home as well, playing in New Zealand, I think that that's a respectable score for us, and we can kind of walk away with our heads held high, and the fact that, our main player wasn't even playing really. So I think next we tour, from a T20 perspective, we're going to be touring South Africa. Obviously, depending on what's happening with the world in a few weeks. And Babar's going to walk back into the team. So, are there any changes that you'd make for the T20 squad going into South Africa? Or let me put it another way. Is there anyone that you would not take to South Africa that went to New Zealand for the T20s?
I wouldn't take Wahab. I would bring in Amar Yameen. Fahim has impressed me. He's done well. Finally, he's been awful for so long, but he's had 3 good matches. And again, you can't argue with people who are performing. Yeah, if they're performing, especially if it's not a one-off, you got to stick with him. So I'd stick with Fahim, but I'd bring in Amar Yameen. But broadly speaking, I was saying this earlier to someone else. Whatever happens in the Test series here in New Zealand, whatever happened in the T20s, this group of players that they've brought is pretty much our best group of players. Yeah, the only argument is who plays. Yeah, like as in what your 11 is. That's the argument. There's no one back home who deserves to be here. I don't think so. There's Shoaib Malik. To talk about Saud Shakil, maybe. Cameron Ghulam making loads of runs in domestic, maybe. But these are all very recently they've been making runs. The group of players they brought here are pretty much the best group of players we have. So I'd pick from amongst them. But changes, yeah, I'd like to see Haider opening with Babar. I want us persisting with Haider. As I said, most of his dismissals weren't technical problems. They were bad shot selections. So I'd stick with them. I want Rizwan in the middle overs. I think he could be a finisher, and he's shown that he can bash the ball as well, actually. Hafiz sticks at 3. I'd bring Talat in at 4. I'd stick with Khushdel. He's a bit frustrating. I was saying to someone on WhatsApp earlier, Yunus Khan makes notes. You see him making notes all day. I hope one of his notes are sit down with Khushdel and show him how to hit on the offside, because everything he tries to hit it on the leg side. That's his problem. He's when someone's got a natural hitting ability, you can teach them to do extra things. So I'm hoping that Yunus can sit down with Khushdil and teach him to hit on the offside a few times. So I'd want us to stick with Khushdil because I don't see any big hitters that can come in at 6 or 7 or 6. Beyond that, I'm pretty happy with this team. I think there's a lot of criticism of Misbah, but the fact of the matter is he's got slowly, one way or another, got rid of a lot of deadwood. Yeah, the Shoaib Maliks, the Umar Akmals, the Ahmed Shazads, they're all gone. And hopefully they're gone for good. We've got a new selector coming, Mohamed Wasim. Hopefully we'll do well in the New Zealand series. Because if we don't do well in that test series, there's going to be huge pressure on him. All the lobbyists are going to be tweeting him and going onto the media saying, bring back Shoaib Malik, bring back all of these failed experiments over these last 10 years. When what we should be doing is this group of players that Misbah's picked is the right group of players he's picked. We should be continuing with them. Continue with Abdullah Shafiq, continue with Haidar, continue with Harris, continue with Husnain. 1 or 2 little changes, get Talat in, keep going with Khushdil, maybe move Rizwan down to the middle order. Other than that, we don't need to make huge changes. There's no one else that deserves to be here that I can think of. And that's the thing we need to take away from this. We need to stick with this group of players.
Yeah, so you obviously covered a lot of great points there, Hamza. I think one of them was the new chief selector that's coming, Mohamed Wasim. So I think someone was saying that the domestic team that he's actually in the management, that he's actually the manager for, he's done a really good job there. The way he promotes people based on merit, and that's obviously what we want to happen for the national squad as well. But I think that it's going to be a really testing time for him because he said the lobbyists are going to start pushing their own favorite players for whatever reason. They can start pushing them forward, and it's how can he handle them. We saw what happened was it about a year and a half ago when Misbah came in, and then we have brought in Ahmed Shahzad and Umar Akmal into the series against Sri Lanka. So now Mohamed Wasim's come in. How is he going to be able to handle those guys? How is he going to be able to handle the guys that keep pushing them into the squad? And I think it's easy for me to say this at this point that he should say no, just go away. But there's obviously a lot of politics that goes on behind the scenes as well there. So I just hope that he can stay steadfast. He chooses a side based on merit, and like you said, we don't need to do any major changes for the South Africa T20 squad. So I'm quietly confident. We're going into that South Africa series, and inshallah we'll be doing a 2020 series preview for that series as well. I think we've covered all the points here today. Let me just quickly go through some of the comments that we had. Welcome Salam Habib, welcome Salam Tabriz, welcome Salam Shaz. Cover this one as well. That Husnain probably watching Wahab thinking I can get 12-1/2, but might take a wicket for you. Salam boys from Umar. Shout out to the Hatcast. Yeah, we're just waiting for the games next year when we're going to be going down there. So the Paxican is going to be there doing the Paxican wave again, and we'll see you all there for that. There's pressure Heather. Maybe should tighten up a little to get some time out there, which is key. Yeah. And I think that was it. We covered everything.
Hopefully they'll give Haidar some matches in the A-team matches. That would be good.
So are you ready for this one then, Hamza?
Go on.
Salam brothers. I think we need Mohamed Amr back.
He's packed his own bags. So what are we supposed to do? He's decided to throw his. Someone made the point that I ended up tweeting. I was like, Fawad was ignored for 11 years, didn't retire. Amir gets ignored for 2 series, retires. What sort of a personality is that? And again, this is a very freshy Pakistani trait, just to do that. I've never seen Indians do this. I've never seen Bangladeshis or English cricketers do this. Oh, you're not going to pick me? All right, I'm retiring.
So the only
just a gesture. Why do we do this? Afridi used to do it. Yunus Khan did it. Mohammed Yusuf. It's pathetic. You don't have to retire. Just say, I don't want to play. All right. That's all Amir has to say is, I don't make myself available for selection for the next 12 months. That's all he has to say.
So
Why are you retiring?
So he does. But I think that, as we all know, with Amr, he's had a bit of a checkered past, and it's not been a straightforward road for him. And I haven't watched the interviews in full that he's done over the past couple of weeks, but he's called out in the management that there's been some kind of mental torture going on from that perspective, and I don't think it's been. I understand where we're coming from when you compare him with Ford Alam, who's been slugging away behind the scenes there for 10, 11 years, and now he's getting his chance in the test team. But I think it's difficult to compare Ford Alam with Amr. I think there are other factors to consider here, and I don't think we're ever going to know the full story. So I think it's really difficult to make a call on this. So if it was, as you said, that if you just got dropped, you didn't get picked for a couple of series, and then why did he throw his toys out of the pram? I agree. If you look at it on the basis of that, then he shouldn't have done that. And maybe we don't want someone like that in the squad. But there are definitely extenuating factors here. And like I said, I don't think we're ever going to know the full goings on about what happened. So from a personal perspective, I prefer to look back at what Amr did for the team, what he did for the squad. Back in 2009 when he came in, what he did in 2017. Think about that stuff. Whatever's going on with him and stuff. And I think today I saw that he'd done an interview on Cameron Akmal's YouTube show. So I'm not sure who's advising him. I don't know whether deep down in his heart, whether he wants to come back.
Yeah. Cameron Akmal is just a troublemaker. He's constantly trying to needle his way back into the team. Ridiculous, but yeah. What's that question from Tabrez?
So Tabrez saying, but that's what he did with Test, Hamza. But our management just kept niggling him in the media. Yeah, that is the thing. It wasn't a case that when he came back into the squad in late 2015 and into the 2016 series here in England, there was a bit of disharmony in the squad as well. So he's had a lot of things to deal with. So I think it's unfair just to judge him on the face of it. He dropped for 2 series and now he's just retiring and claiming a lot of things that I just think that he's in a difficult position. And sometimes who are we to advise? But I think that.
But why retire? Why? I don't get it. Why don't you just say, I'm not going to make myself available for selection for 2021? I just want to do the leagues. I just want to play T10s. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could just say, I don't want to play this year. You could easily just say that. I don't want a central contract. You don't have control over me. I'm not playing this year. Why do they always do this retirement game? It just reminds me of like a petulant child. Like you offer them something, they say no, and then you offer it to them and they still say no. Whatever. It's just. I don't know, it just you don't see other people do this. No other country has cricketers doing this. As I said, it's not even Amir. Yunus Khan did it. Used to throw his toys out the pram, retire. Afridi did it, toys out the pram, retire. Mohammed Yusuf did it, toys. And I know there's a lot of stuff happening, but I just don't get. Why don't you just say, I'm not playing next year? That's all you have to say. I'm not making myself. Why do you have to retire? Because it's nonsense. If someone will talk to you. If someone makes nice with them, then suddenly they're not retired anymore.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that I've kind of always struggled in the past is that when I talk to friends who support other teams, is when they say, "Why is Yunus Khan retired? Why is Shahid Afridi retired?" And then they just look at me I think I remember Bumble actually tweeting or saying once about one of the times when Afridi retired. He goes, "Oh yeah, Afridi's retired." ... again. They take the mick. They take the mick out of it.
They use retirement like a political tool. I don't like that.
Factor or something. I think that there is that sense of professionalism that we need to get to, but that's not just on the players. That's on the backroom staff as well. I think it has to be on both sides. We don't know what they face with those. But one of the things we do know is that it's not plain sailing for them, no matter who's in charge over there. So it's a sad state of affairs what's happened with Mohamed Amr, and I don't know. I just hope that something next year just kind of sorts itself out with that. I think that he is playing in one of the leagues in January or February. I think one of the ones in the Middle East. So we'll see what his performance is like there, and who knows? We might be seeing him play next year in England.
The thing is, like, you think that some of them will have a little bit of self-awareness. Like, his form's not been good for a whole year. His form has not been good.
Yeah, there is that. I think Imi shared a stat a little while ago that his last 10 games for Pakistan, I don't think he'd got very many wickets. So then there's a thing there that is he just a big situation player, for the big games against India or the tournaments, and I don't know. Just going to do the last comment here from Tabriz, and then I'm going to call it quits for the night. Amir's reaction highlights the distance between our coaches, management, administrators, and our players. It shouldn't be there. There should be constant communication, trust, and understanding. Yeah, 100% agree with that, and I think that it's very worrying to see.
Misbah and Waka, they know Amir inside out. So like Misbah used to captain Amir. Do you know what I mean? So I don't buy it. I just don't like. It's his own fault.
Yeah, but I don't think that you can just judge it on the face of it. I don't think you can just say it's all Amir's fault. I think, and I'm not even laying the blame here. I'm just saying that there's a hell of a lot more to this story than meets the eye. We don't know, So they're saying that true, but when he came back, how many drop catches did he have? I remember that in the 2016
so he was excellent. I'm not saying he's a rubbish bowler. I'm not saying he's a rubbish bowler. I'm saying he's a really good bowler.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that you can't judge it on the face of it. There's lots of other things going on there. Yeah. So when he's called out the mental torture, mental health has been a really big thing in the world over the past couple of years. It's really come to the fore. So I don't know if I just hope and pray, that something sorts itself out next year for this. Yeah. But for the moment, I think he just needs to get some downtime to stay away. And any of these interviews that he's doing with Cameron Akmal or these other guys that have their own agenda, he just needs to stay away from any journalists or anything like that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching and for all the comments that have been coming in. Yeah, it's been a great series. 2-1. We lost, but I think we definitely we were definitely competitive at times. And I think that when you look back at it, there were occasions when we could have actually won the series. I mentioned from a T20 perspective, we're going to South Africa next year, and we'll be back to preview that series in a few weeks. So it's Lafis from me and Lafis from Hamza.
Lafis.
And as we always say, Pakistan, Zindabad!